Good evening, good morning, good afternoon.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon.
Wherever you may be in this sunny world, just making sure everything's working. And welcome to another Photography Lockdown Creative Challenge. If you haven't been to one before, Photography Lockdown is a series of creative challenges. They're gym workouts for your creativity because cameras don't take pictures, you take pictures. And this is where you get to work out that creative muscle, think new thoughts and find new ways of doing things. Good evening, all you lovely, lovely people. I've been watching you have a conversation about what you've had for dinner. I think it's so cool. You're all there, all ready to go. So wonderful to see so many regular faces. If you're new here, you haven't been on one of these, welcome. We have a truly lovely community of people here. I'm going to be trying something a little bit different this time, as some of you know. I'll come to that in a moment. Give me one moment. I need to fiddle about and make sure I have got everything good. Yes, I have. I think we're good. So I noticed that our group is growing in size, but we're getting fewer entries, which is why I'm going to attempt to go through everything in the current challenge album tonight. This is a bit challenging for me because I'm like, whoa, I hope I get it all done. I hope I don't get it wrong and I hope I don't upset anyone. Please remember that any feedback I give, and it is coming straight from the heart, it is intended to be constructive. It is intended to help. As I say, the group is growing in size, but we are getting fewer entries. So therefore, some of our more accomplished regular names do appear in my shout-outs, winners, runners-up sections. So that gives me a dilemma because I kind of want more people to get shout-outs and things. However, do I compromise my integrity and just choose someone that I don't think the picture's quite as exciting or interesting because it's like, oh, I love this one again. And anyway, had long conversations with Paul and Emma about this over the course of the last week. So I am sticking with my integrity. What I would love to see is some more entries. I would really love to see some more entries. What else have I got here in my notes? There's an upside to this, of course, because we have got some really quite accomplished photographers, and some of you have really grown since the beginning of this, and that is deeply rewarding for me because I've watched some people do these challenges and they're kind of like getting better and better and better and better. And this is the whole point. You do the challenge. You don't do this to win. You do it to do the challenge. That's the whole point because, okay, yeah, people who win get one of my online courses, but they don't necessarily need one. Do you know what I mean? It's if you're in that place where you're not at that level, that's when you probably do. So the upside is, you know, if you are someone who's technically good but need a bit of help with creativity, then looking at some of these guys' work and listening to my feedback is going to help you pay attention to what's going on. When you look at their images, when you look at the images of one of the photographers that you admire, you know, think, how did they do this? How did they approach this? And then if you're feeling a little bit stuck in a photographic situation, maybe ask yourself the question, what would, I don't know, John, Sally, Rose, whoever, what would they do in this situation to tackle this problem? If you've been on my choreography of composition webinar, you will have heard how I did exactly the same thing when faced with something that I was struggling with. I just couldn't liberate this image, and I asked myself, how would my friend Bella West approach this? Because I've listened to her giving feedback and studied her work because I love it, the answer popped into my head. If you want to know more about that story, you're going to have to come on that webinar. Right, so wonderful to see you all. Let's get stuck in because there's quite a lot to go through. Even though we didn't have quite so many entries, there's still a fair amount. Now, I have never done this screen sharing through a live broadcast before. Fingers crossed. Let's see what happens. So first of all, I need to go into here and share my screen with you. Whoa, now you can see what I've got on my screen. Scary business. Now, just before we go there, I want to just draw your attention to a little something here at the bottom of the chat. in the live, we only discovered this last time because a couple of lovely people made a donation, because the group survives on donations. That's what pays for it. This little dollar sign at the bottom of the chat, if you just click on that, look, if you want to send me a super chat, that means you can send me a sponsored question. You can vary how much it's worth. If I see a sponsored question, I will absolutely answer it, and then you can type it in that little box there. If you didn't want to do that, you could, if you really wanted to, buy me a cool and groovy sticker. Who knows, there might be a duck in there somewhere. I know what you lot are like about ducks. I don't know why. So, here we are. We are in our album, and I think it's working. It looks like it is, yes. Let's give it a little bit more space. And let's get started. None of this is rehearsed. What you're getting now is first reaction. Of course, I have chosen a handful that I really, really love, but let's get stuck in. Tim Freed. Our theme was move. You have definitely caught some movement, and you've done it in a very engaging, interesting way. I like the way you put a lot of thought into how you've lit this. I haven't necessarily read the comments. I'm going to, because it just takes me too long. I'm not very good at reading. But I do like the way you have used complementary colours in your lighting, and I don't know if this is a Photoshop or whether this is a double exposure. That's what I'm trying to say. I like it. You've got lots of movement there. I love the throwing of the dice and the multiple dice. I feel it could do with just a touch more contrast. It's technically very creative, and that's the thing this is about, is thinking up ways to be creative with all that cool stuff that you have. It's an interesting image. Well done. Russell, I really liked this. I think you've got something going on here. It's just that little whisper of movement in the top of the trees. Totally get it. You know, lying on your back in a bunch of trees. It's really quite a nice sort of a feeling, a nice way to go. I'm not sure these trees are the best ones to do it with. They're very leafy, they're very green. We've got that very grey sky, which I don't think's helping. Now, I guess to get the wind on a windy day, you're more likely to have a grey sky. Rustling trees, says Clive Barton, very funny. But again, you've come up with something, a slowish shutter speed, let the trees move about a little bit. You've certainly captured some movement. Andy Titmus, what have we got going on here? Congratulations on shooting at twilight. This little bit of blue in the sky, it doesn't last long, and we've got great complementary colours. We've got the yellows and the blues. These things work if you're looking to do some night photography, some evening photography. Look out for this time. Now, in different parts of the world, it lasts for a different amount of time, probably about 10 minutes here. In the UK, around the equator, a lot less. So light trails, they're tricky things to get right. They're always interesting technically, and of course it captures a feeling of movement. But they are difficult things to really make stand out. I quite like this picture as a picture, almost without the light trails, but then of course it loses the movement. But what I want to congratulate you for is for coming up with an idea and then executing it and then going for it and then giving it a go. Really love this one, Jamie. I think it's a very, very powerful, strong image. Technically, of course, you've got that absolutely spot on. We have got movement and power going on in these waves. Perfect exposure, as you would expect. But also, it's just the right shutter speed. Because if the shutter speed was slower, there'd almost be too much movement in these waves. We've got just enough to freeze that power, that energy, but also just to move the water just enough to make it exciting and engaging. Very, very well done indeed. James, I like your idea. It's thinking differently, isn't it? It's coming outside the box a little bit. Your move in a chess game. I do think it's quite good fun. I'm quite intrigued by the light as well. It's coming in from the left of the bear, that's our right, looking at the screen. It is interesting, it's intriguing, it's kind of moody. I kind of want to know who the regal looking teddy bear is playing chess with. I like the way you've got the light concentrating at that end of the board. It's a great image. How could you improve it? I guess that is the thing everyone looks for with some sort of creative criticism. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe if the light was coming from a different direction, possibly coming from slightly behind the bear, so the shadows on the chessboard are coming towards us rather than across us, because backlight is always a really, really good way to go. It does work very, very well. But it's a nice image. It's well lit, well exposed. Good thinking, good thinking. Excuse me, Nagar, I like your work generally anyway. I like the way you come up with these crazy ideas, and you know, you've got some great movement here. I got it, that it's a snake's head straight away the moment that I saw it. How you captured this, I don't know. I think it's really intriguing and it's very, very creative. I like the yellow and the black, the yellow, orange and black. It works very, very well, and just that little hint of movement. I'm not sure your border is doing you any favours though. Maybe it's just me, I don't know, anyone else feels like this, but I find borders around pictures tend to distract from the picture unless it is the most simple of borders, just one little fine black pin line or something like that. But I do find many of these things distract a little bit. But it's a nice shot. I think it's good fun. I think it's very creative. As I do with this one, Caroline Cadman. Another great take on movement. There's something kind of ghostly and eerie. I read two books. I always have my morning book, which is something I'm going to learn, something a bit exciting, something to get me excited for the day. And I read that when I have breakfast. And I've got my going to sleep book that I read at night, which is usually a novel. And I'm currently reading a bit of a sci-fi thing. And it's about some weird dimension people have to pass through. And this absolutely reminded me of it. This movement you've got here, it looks like intentional camera movement. Nice idea, Caroline. So you've got that little bit of movement. I like the way you've got the doll positioned. It looks like you've got some interesting light happening on the doll too, and I'm not quite sure how you did it. I like the light sort of under the mannequin's armpit actually. It's like you've got a bit of backlight in there. It's really, really interesting. It's an engaging image, it's an interesting image, and yes, you have caught some movement in here. Mark Racine, you've frozen some movement here. I mean, what a great shot. What a great shot. I mean, you've got some nice light. The light is coming from behind the parrot. The parrot is semi-backlit. These are the things that work. That's what I'm saying earlier about have a listen to and look at people who do things. You think, that's great. Why does it work? It's not just the parrot that's interesting. It is the position of the wings, obviously, but it is the light. Look how the light is wrapping around the top of the parrot's head and fading off as it comes towards us, so the shadow is on our side of the parrot. It's bringing those feathers to life. So if you want to try and photograph some birds, let's say you go to a falcon centre or something like that, see if you can get yourself in such a position that you're photographing against the light rather than with the light, because if the light was coming over Mark's shoulder, this wouldn't be anything like as powerful. It is a great shot, Mark. I do like it a lot. Love the stance of the parrot and the light. Sheena Woodruff Luke. I'm not quite sure in getting the movement here. Apologies. It's got lovely, gentle colours. It's a very soothing image, and I like the shape of the shiny water along the beach. But it isn't quite sharp, and I think the movement you have got here is a bit of camera movement. It's a little bit of camera shake. Looks like you were photographing in low light. And with a longer lens, it's really, really easy to get a bit of camera shake. So you always need to keep an eye on that shutter speed and the ISO. Because if you've got a longer lens on, you need a faster shutter speed to make sure you don't get any movement. And to get that faster shutter speed, you may have your aperture wide open, but that might not be enough. So you're going to have to lift that ISO. Don't be afraid of ISO. So many people are scared of increasing their ISO because they think it'll make the picture unlookable at and unenjoyable and grainy and horrible. But it won't. Most cameras are fabulous with high ISOs now. I mean, any camera that's really 5 years old, a couple of thousand ISO shouldn't really be an enormous problem. They do a really great job. But I like your colours. I like the reflection. I think you spotted an interesting image, but I'm not quite getting that movement feel in there. Sam, you are giving me movement in spades, man. I just think it's a really great sort of abstract, and I really do get the feeling of movement. What is going on? I don't quite know. It's wow. There you go, the rosas. It's really kind of intriguing the way a lot of the movement is sort of going backwards. So I don't know if did you use it looks like a slow sync flash with a front curtain sync so that the flash fired and then the people moved, which kind of sometimes gives them the appearance of moving backwards, as opposed to if you have a rear curtain sync when you fire the flash at the end of the exposure so that the people move and then it flashes and then the light trails go behind. But you've got a very creative thing going on here. I don't know if you did a bit of intentional camera movement. No flash, that's intriguing. Hey Sam. No flash, that's intriguing. So someone must have stood still for a moment and then moved. But I love the swirls and the grace that you've got going in there. So you just used a slow shutter speed and then relied on the actors and how they walked about, moved or stood still. It's very creative, Sam. Could do with a little bit more contrast, I think, but nonetheless it is a very intriguing image. So I get it. The water's moving. McDonald Rose a Martine. So this is your sun. That's cool. I love the way you've caught the little droplets. I get it. The picture's a little bit busy, I think, with the red in the corner there. It's very, very dominant. And your son's expression looks like, forgive me, he kind of looks like you were going, go on, squirt me again. And he's like, I really don't want to. It was funny the first time. But it is a good fun image. It's a good fun. I think it's the expression on your son's face. If he looked delighted to be squirting you, and you have frozen the motion of the droplets, but there's a little bit busy going on there. I don't know if you could have possibly moved to a slightly different angle. But it is good fun. It's a nice picture. Ian Robb, Loch Lomond, the Bonnie Banks of. Yeah, it's quite good fun, isn't it? When you get a boat moored on water, if you can run a long, slow exposure, and they do this weird sort of ghosty movement. It's a nice shot. So you used a slow shutter speed. I like your composition. I like the way you balance the rocks in the foreground with the mountain in the background. The way we've got light on the background and shade on the rocks. It kind of works. It's a nice picture. What can I say? You've got just the right sort of shutter speed to make the water glassy. We've got that little bit of ghostly movement on the boat as it's just moving on its anchor and just sort of gently rocking on the waves. But it's a very classical rocks in the foreground thing here. It's a nice shot, Ian. It's a nice shot, no question. Mats Johnson. I'll bet they did move. He said I could manage to read your comment. It was short. More than 4 words and I'm stuffed. Great colours. And yeah, you've frozen movement very, very well. What more can I say? We've got great colours. We've got yellow and blue. We've got red and blue. They always seem to work very well together. It's a nice capture. It's a nice picture. Forgive me, I'm not sure what more to say really, but it is it's a nice picture. It's technically correct. You've frozen some movement here. I think, Tracy, I think you've been thinking outside the box big time here, haven't you? And I think you've done it very, very well. Yeah, last orders at the bar. I think it's amusing. I think you've got humour, but I also like the way you've had an idea and you've shown real forethought. You know, you've planned something and then seen it through to the end. And you know, this shows a great deal of work going on up here. I don't know if you're here, Tracy. Be interesting to know whether you did this. I don't know how you did it. Multiple exposure. If it's Photoshop work, then you did it very, very well. I don't know. Can you do? I don't know how you did it. If it's Photoshop work, it looks incredibly well done. I don't have a problem with Photoshop work because nonetheless, you still had to do a pile of work to make this happen, to make it work. I'm just watching the chat just in case Tracy's here. It doesn't look like she is. Maybe you'll watch it on the replay. But it's a really creative idea. I think it's very, very well done indeed. You know, 6 guys that look the same, said Sue. But can you imagine it? You know, think this one through. If this was not a sequence of multi-bursts, maybe it was a sequence of multi-frames and then they're all photoshopped together, but it's been very, very well done. But, you know, look at this, capturing each frame as the guy is running through the water, which I'm pretty sure is what's happened. I think it's a burst mode and then each image has been overlaid. Tripod on slow burst mode, maybe. I think you'd have to be on fairly quick burst mode, Moose. I'm not sure. Very interesting image, very creative, great thinking, great composition. You've got all the elements working. The reflection, you've frozen the little droplets of water, that great sky going on. Really nice light. It's again coming towards the camera. The light is in front of this guy, but it's also just slightly behind, which is giving great shape and textures. Look at the muscles in his leg. You see how they're standing out? That's this slight backlighting. I think it's really good. I think it's really well done. Nice work. Debbie Harmit. It's interesting. I mean, yes, you've captured some movement. I get it. And I'm guessing you probably worked hard because this is the thing for everyone to remember. You know, we're all at different places on our journeys. Some have been doing it for years but haven't had the opportunity to go out with the camera much. Some have been doing it for less time but have dedicated huge amounts of time because it is always practice that makes perfect. Debbie, I like your colours. I like the way you've done a bit of a something. I don't know if it's a pan. I think it's a little bit of a pan as well as, you know, the car moving. So we've got this great feeling of blur. Congratulations, good on you for doing that. You found a shutter speed that works. Unfortunately, I think where we've just sort of got the back of the car and it's just sort of left, it doesn't quite have the power that I think it could have. I am really rubbish at movement panning shots. I will put my hand up to that straight away. I don't know why it is. I'm just not good at panning shots. It doesn't matter how much I try and get it just right. I have to do it so often. So I feel your pain. You said it took you hours and a few days to get it right. Good on you, because this is where excellence lies, is in practicing and practicing and practicing. You've seen something, you've had an idea, and you've dedicated yourself to sort of working on that idea. I love your colours. I love that soft, delicate, watercolour-y feel you've got to it. It's really, really nice. Jane Barnes. Hello, Jane Barnes. I saw you were chatting earlier on and saying you were on to the coffee. So you had an early breakfast. I think these sorts of shots are always intriguing. You know, so I presume camera's on its back. You've got one of these things, you know, that swings in and out with different colours on it. I think it's perfectly exposed because it's very easy to overexpose shots like this. it's creative. You get these lovely geometric patterns. I love the fact there's no disturbance in the background. It's some nice work, Jay. It's some nice work. I'm going to be going to have a go at something like this tomorrow night with an LED hula hoop. We're going to try and do something with an LED hula hoop, throwing it in the air and trying to get at twilight against the dark blue. Whether it'll work, who knows? I don't think it will be quite as good as yours, though. Great work. Nice image, Jay. Iggy, I found this really fascinating because I still can't quite, every time I look at this, I kind of think, are these toys? I'm not entirely sure. No, they're not, are they? I'm just reading your comment. Receiving treatment for a detached retina and a torn right retina. Iggy, I wish you well. I do hope you recover and feel good soon and you're back in action. It's just intriguing because it looks like a bunch of toy figures, yet of course in various parts of Asia, you know, people, even construction workers, they get out there and do exercises and things first thing in the morning. But it really does look like toys, so I kind of get where you're going with this. I think it's good fun. And I always like a picture with a cat in it, that sort of cat. I used to drive those things for a living. Great shot, great idea, and a million thanks and congratulations, because if you're in hospital, you're a bit limited or you can't get out and you're not feeling great and you're still giving it a go. And that is the key. That is the key. Always giving it your best shot. Congratulations, Iggy. I wish you a speedy recovery. Dina Peters. One finger can move anything. One movement can change the world. I love your words, but I also love your picture. The moment I saw this, it just spoke to me. I just love it. It is calm. It is interesting. The thing that I really liked with this one, Dina, is it's moving. Not just moving as in something physically moving. It's you put a different spin onto it. There is something emotionally moving about, you know, this man's finger just trailing and making those little ripples in the water. There is something emotive, something emotional going on here. You have photographed it beautifully. Great light. You've allowed your exposure to come just a little bit dark. I like the shallow depth of field that you have used. It's a very simple picture, but it's a great interpretation on moving. It is really creative. Really like this one, Dina. I think it's a great shot. Crystal says it's her fave. Praise indeed, because you, Crystal, are one of our most active group members, and you guys are here all the time, but I see Crystal popping up all the time, supporting and helping each other. It's one of the great things about this group, how everyone supports each other. Ruth Pritchard, I love the way you've got a little happy family moment, haven't you? These little happy family moments, let's move that off there so you can see better. These little happy family moments, they're not easy to capture, are they? You know, mum happens to be standing still while the little kids come running over. It makes me smile. What more can I say? Of course, there are things that we can go creatively, well, maybe if you're at this angle or that angle, it would be better, and if the woman was against the sky. But I get it. This looks to me like you saw something happening and you just did it, which takes a bit of doing. So congratulations on that. It's a really happy sort of a picture. Trish Church. I kind of like the way you've seen something and then put a different spin onto it. It's the way all these photographers are kind of moving around to get the shot, because that's what we do, isn't it? We have to move around and dance and shift our bodies all over the place to get our composition, to get what you want from an image. That's why I call it the choreography of composition, because cameras don't take pictures, you take pictures. And when you're composing a shot, it's all about kneeling on the ground, standing on your tiptoes, lying upside down, getting into an awkward angle, trying to shoot through those rocks to get the model, that sort of thing. So I like the spin you have put onto this, Trish. I think it's good fun. It is good fun. What was it? I just saw someone say, Sue says the model looks freezing. Everyone else is wearing a coat. Well spotted. My sister used to be a professional model when we were back in our late teens and 20s. And Anna did a load of swimsuit stuff. Blue sky, you know, laughing in the water, the waves breaking around her and all the rest of it. They didn't have the budget to go somewhere where it was hot and sunny though, but they needed this blue sky and sunshine. Guaranteed the best time to get that in the UK is January. So Anna said there was actually frost on the sandy beach whilst they were doing it. So I have no idea what temperature that water was. Models work hard. Never take a model for granted. She was into a swimsuit, hair being done and all the rest of it, into this freezing water, laughing and doing the thing as the waves broke round. A couple of shots out, warm up, hot suit, dry. Move on. But good interpretation, Trish. Let's come back to your picture. I think it's a good fun picture. I think it's a great interpretation. I can't help wondering, maybe you could have found a different angle to improve on the shot. Where we got the photographers, maybe if you could have shot through the photographers towards the model. So I think it might have made it a bit more powerful. If you'd moved to your right, so you were looking along the rocks like the photographers are, but include them in your shot. That I think could be fun. Or if you could have got quite close to one, sort of like, you know, so like you really are looking over their shoulder. But it's a great idea. Nicely done. Good one, Trish. Ian Pritchard. This is really nice, kind of gentle, billowy movement shot, you know, on the patterns and things that these leaves make. It is a beautiful shot. It is pretty. There is no question about that. I can't help wondering, it's the bottom corner. Finger time. Actually, it's hand time for me. I'm just thinking, if I cover that bottom corner, I love the swishes and swirls and shapes that you've got going on, but the branches are just a bit annoying. I can't help wondering if you kind of cropped it. I'm doing a little bit of a crop to lose that corner, and then I think we got a lovely pattern. So we got that lower sort of shape just sort of cropped off, so I've got more of a square going on. I can't help wondering if you could have maybe moved it a bit and lost that little bit in the corner. But it's a great shot. You have captured some movement. You've done a bit of thinking about it. You have figured a way in which to interpret movement. I think without that bottom corner, you'd have a more powerful picture. Perm Gatora. Perm, I really like this. It's a bit of me. I like things like this. I love these strong geometrical shapes and that lone human being. I like the angle that you're shooting from. I think it is a very creative and intriguing way of going about things. I've just seen you've just joined. Hello, Perm, and welcome. I would have picked on this one anyway, I think, because I just find it really intriguing. Is that lone person just sort of stood there? It looks to be very carefully composed where that, I don't know what it is, notice board, top right corner with the 2 on it. It's just, you know, it's not quite cropped off. It's just sitting within the picture, the circle and the shape. And then we got this, that movement of the escalator. And it's kind of wacky. It's almost like, I don't know what's going on because the escalator appears to be going vertically up. I think it's a very intriguing sort of a shot. Circles and squares and straight lines, the way you've included this little piece in the bottom, in the foreground, which just helps hold it all together and mirrors these curvy shapes with that hard upright. Very nice shot, Perm. I like the way you kind of put a different spin onto movement, the way you've got the escalator moving and the human standing stock still. Anton, this is good fun. I think it's interesting. I like the movement in the person, but I think we've got just a little bit too much movement. It is also incredibly hard to get this shot because you always end up with someone with a leg missing or a foot. You don't always. It is doable, but it is really hard because, of course, that foot is planted on the ground as they're moving. and it is really hard to find the right shutter speed and get just the right steps so that they have 2 feet. It's an interesting shot. I find that the lights behind are just a little bit powerful. Keep looking at them and missing your runner. But like you just said in your comment, I was reading it, you just did it. And that is the whole point. You went out, you had a go at something, and you came back with something. Right time of day, look at that blue in the sky. I like the yellows. Maybe if you had your runner right over the yellows, that might have helped. Interesting. Stephen James Barnett. You've got some really lovely shapes going on here. Very, very, very interesting shapes indeed. Look at those trees in the background, the way they're kind of, it's almost like rain, isn't it? So I'm intrigued if you're here, Stephen. It's just interesting. Is this intentional camera movement? It must be intentional camera movement. Is it, or is it intentional camera movement combined with camera on a tripod, like you moved it a bit on a tripod and then kept it still and let other things move within it? I think it's really intriguing. It's a bluebell wood. Yeah, it's a beautiful image. Constructive thing which I think might have made it work better. I'm not sure about the tree trunk on the left. To me, if I take that out, get your hands out, people. Let me just move my mouse so that it doesn't have those little arrows. There we go. Just kind of take out that tree trunk on the left, and I think it adds a lot of strength to it, because at the moment I find myself, I'm not sure, am I looking at this dark area or that dark area? But by having just the one dark area, you need to just cover the one on the left. What do you think, folks? 2 trees or just one? Do the hand test, or the finger thing, you know, we like doing the finger thing, don't we? Something like that. Sharon prefers it with 2 trunks. Evelyn likes 2. Jules like 2. Just one, just one. 1, 2. 2 trees, 1 tree. Oh, that's interesting, Dean. Try just half of the left side tree. Let's do what Dean just suggested. That's kind of interesting. We really want to see those fingers. Bob Mortimer time. Or Vic Reeves time, I'm not sure which. So let's just very, very carefully, get your head still. I'm just going to take out half of the tree trunk on the left. You know what? Yeah, good one, Dean. That does work. That does work. That looks a lot better. Personally, I still prefer it with 1. But hey, that's the great thing with photography, isn't it? There is no right, there is no wrong. There is only what you have and what you like, because that is your style. You photograph what you like, what you enjoy, what you think is best, and that becomes your style. You don't develop a style, you let your style out. That is how it works. Great shot, Stephen. Nice idea, Alec. It's just, let's move it. We're on the move. We've got a truck moving stuff. You're on the move. Lovely light going on. A lovely light going on. I see a wedding ring there, so is it your wife or someone else's wife? I don't know. Who am I to judge? But I love those hands, this beautiful light coming in across the hands, that little bit of movement in the truck. It's cool. It's cool. I think it's an interesting image. Is it good enough to sort of go into the winning? I would say no, not at this point. Why not? If, and this is a hard call, maybe if the truck was moving more, so it was more of like a blur of traffic coming past, because you got that white sky, which is what's allowing that beautiful light on your wife's hands, and the beautiful light on the interior of the car. It's caught, but we've got that white sky. If that was direct sunshine coming in, it wouldn't be nice light on the hands. It would be too contrasty and highlighty and deep shadowy. Maybe if we could have had the truck a bit further in, I don't know, possibly slow burst mode. I get it, it's probably really hard to get that sharp, particularly if you're actually moving, whether you're sitting at the side of the road and letting the traffic move. I don't know, that would be one way you could do it. But it's a great idea, and I love the light. Charles C. Woolsey. It's a lovely picture. And I'm just reading your comment. I try not to read the comments because I don't want it to influence what I think about the picture. I might read them afterwards. Okay, I see what you're saying, allowing us once again the ability to move. But I wouldn't necessarily get an association of movement within the picture on its own. It's a really nice picture, and if you know this person walking on the beach, they would love that picture. I think compositionally it wouldn't hurt. You could take some off the top and some off the bottom, make it a little bit more oblong as a composition. Reading your comment, I get your move connotation, but from the image on its own, I'm sorry, I didn't. A full moon. It's a very beautiful picture, Philip. That is a really beautiful moon shot. That really is nice. It's kind of lovely. Look at the way the light is falling off around the moon. Of course, the moon is moving further away from us. One day it's going to disappear off somewhere else. And then we've got some problems on our hands. I think I'll be long gone, dead, buried by the time that happens. It's a lovely picture, but again, Philip, I'm not quite getting the move thing. I can see how you put it into your comments. The Earth, full supermoon, moves out of the Earth's shadow. Beautiful picture, Philip, but there's a tenuous link, I think, to the theme, despite how beautiful that shot is. Helen Martin, great idea. I got to move. I got to be somewhere. I got to go. I'm late. I like your thinking, and that's what this group is all about. That's what these challenges are all about, thinking differently, and you did think differently. I like the way you've kind of positioned things in your composition. I think it's a tad, forgive me, it's a tad obvious as an image. It's kind of like, here's the time and here's the card. Get it? Maybe a more subtle way could have been to compose it slightly differently, but you've got nice light, you've got it technically spot on, great, you know, all the exposure, everything's right, which is of course, you know, a given. That's the foundation of photography. I think possibly if the hand in the back was out of focus, or maybe there was just the watch, maybe that would have helped. So you know, the appointment card is sharp, and the watch on the table isn't. It's not quite sharp, just a little bit soft. But it's a great idea, Helen, and good on you for giving it a go and for getting all those technical things spot on. Oh, let's move that. I keep forgetting to move it. Kevin Smith. Great colours. Lovely colours. Look at that great big moon. Looks splendid. Again, it's a lovely picture. I'm not quite getting this move thing, I'm afraid. I'm not quite getting the move. I don't know if I'm missing something. Am I being thick? I love the picture, I love the colours, but I'm not getting how this relates to let's move it as a theme. So, as a picture, I'm just going to kind of take a little bit off the top and bottom, because I don't think it needs quite so much top and bottom, particularly not at the bottom. I think just a little line of the bottom foreground would probably help. Am I seeing? I was thinking celestial movement, contrasting mountain, moonset, eclipse. Yeah, maybe I was being a bit thick. Was I being thick, people? Yes or no? I might have been being thick. Maybe you all got it and I just missed it. But yeah, things move around in space. It's a beautiful picture. What more can I say? Thanks, David. Another chess game. Great idea, Mark Thompson. And this is a beautifully photographed chess game. I love the way you've shot through the chess pieces and used light to highlight the player's hand. I like the stance of the player. Look where the elbow is. That's how, I don't know about you, but that's often how you sit, isn't it? When you're kind of leaning on your knee, playing chess on a table and thinking about it. But what I love about this, Mark, is the way you've used the light. You've thought differently and thought outside the box, shooting across, almost through the chess pieces, a very shallow depth of field on the hand. You're using a narrow sort of band of light which isn't in the foreground, and it's highlighting the hand and the move. I think it is a very well thought out piece of work, and of course technically very well executed. I like the fact it's in black and white, in mono. It just works. John Colony, look at this. I mean, you've again captured some beautiful movement, some really, really beautiful movement. I love the downbeat of the wings, the way the light is coming through those tail feathers, and the fact that it is pretty much all one tone. It's one colour, isn't it? It's variations of colour with those little splashes of blue-grey going on and those black eyes. It's, again, a beautiful picture. I get it. You've kind of frozen some movement going on here. You were totally surprised that you got the shot. Very accomplished thing to do in the first place. Smith Mark, or Mark Smith. I like this a lot. Okay, if you've been around me a while, you know I like this kind of stuff. I love people watchy photography, streety type things, even though I'm not someone who would ever sit in a cafe. People watching. But I think it's a really, really great picture. It's intriguing. I love the signs. I love the purposefulness of this woman's pacing. Again, it's kind of like you've frozen some movement, but there is no questioning that this woman is on the move. She's going somewhere. She's got shit to do, and she's getting stuck into it. I think it is... I really like it. I like a bit of street photography. The fact it's black and white, I think is great. I don't know if you shot this in burst mode. It's kind of like, I almost think if she could have been a pace further forward. But that is not always doable in these situations. Maybe she is, but she just looks weird, like she's perching and balancing on one leg. Maybe not. Either way, I like it. I like the framing. I like the composition. I like those uprights, the way she's caught between two uprights, the way she's framed between these signs. But most of all, it's the purposefulness of her movement that I loved. Alan Hedge, another interesting bit of movement, a bit of pan blur going on here, panning after the dog. I'm useless at panning, didn't I tell you? I think it's great. You have captured a feeling of speed and fun in the dog. My thing is that tree, and I get it. You're trying to photograph your dog and do some pan blur, and good on you for doing it, for getting stuck into it. It's so hard, isn't it, with animals, because I expect you were over here and you were following the dog, shooting it, and then the one that works is, of course, the one when you're just about to go behind a tree and you're thinking, why did that one have to work? It's a great attempt. Good on you for getting stuck in. I totally admire everybody who enters any challenge, regardless of what they, what works and what doesn't. I totally... Oh, sorry, my brain's dying. I was in the office at 6 this morning. I've been there all day. Right, what do we got? That's no excuse, is it? I need to be on the ball for you people because you're lovely. David Hartwick. A rare sunny day in the city. Well, that's kind of moving in itself. So I kind of get this feeling of movement. It's like a different interpretation. It's like the child's kind of like going, I don't know if I like this. I'm not sure if this was a good idea, which is kind of moving in itself. The combination of yellow and blue works, doesn't it? And so this little kid really, really stands out. I think it's good fun. I think it's interesting. I think it's engaging. And I see how you've got all this movement going on and you've frozen that movement, and I like your thinking. Josh Liu. This is a really engaging picture, in my opinion. It's a journey. You're moving me through a book, and I love that. Okay, it looks to me like I don't know what we're looking at here. Mathematical equations, Greek, something like that, some ancient script. I'm not sure what it is, and I don't really mind. You are moving me through this book, and that is obviously a very beautifully created book, because look at the shine on the lettering. I don't know what the word is it lithographed? Some of you will know. But you know, that is raised text. That is a very, very beautiful bit of script, bit of writing. But what is lovely to me is you are taking me through this book with you. I think it's a really great idea, Josh, and I think it's a really well executed idea. Very imaginative, great creative thinking. Why does it work? Well, because we've got this sort of semi-diagonal thing going top right over to the left, but we're always drawn to the brightest part of a picture. Now, people will say you should never burn out the highlights. It's bad, wicked and wrong. They will get terribly on their high horses going, oh, you burnt the highlights. Josh has just burnt the highlights beautifully, perfectly, and it works. It's great because we are drawn to the brightest part of the picture. You are taking us through the book on a journey to somewhere. I think it's a very accomplished picture. I really like it, Josh. Sue Owen just nailed it. She said, interesting and original. David Glancy, Red Car Rook taken on an iPhone 8 Plus. Good on you for just going for it, you know. Phones are marvellous things because they're with us all the time. You can get things which you just miss if you fumble around looking for the camera. But I'm not getting move here, David. Good on you for entering a picture, but I don't feel you did a great deal to capture move. We got the bird, and I guess there's a bit of sea mist coming in the background, sea spray, something like that, which I guess is moving. But I'm sorry, my friend, I think it's a bit of a tenuous link to the theme. Oops, I missed the button. Where's the button? Come on, button. Dorothy. Now, I think you've done a great job here with move. I think you've done a great job here because you've got a nice picture of the moon, but it's that framing in those clouds or whatever it is. You've got just the right moment. And yeah, we've got the sense of movement. It's kind of like a windy night, and we're getting little flashes of moonlight through the clouds as they're scudding across the sky. That's the feeling that I get from this, Dorothy. I think it's a really great shot. It's a moon shot, but it's also got that sense, that feeling of movement, and I think you've done it very creatively. Great shot, Dorothy. Judith Stewart, an ibis taking flight over a lake. This is kind of very creative, isn't it? It's very sort of, what can I say, arty sort of thing going on here. It's a really, really nice picture, and it has got a sense of movement to it. It's very painterly. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Oh, you just said looks rather like a painting. Maybe that was subconscious, but that's how the movement portrays it. I totally agree. And it's quite interesting because you've got to sort of stop and look at it just for a moment. I think I'd like to see a little more space around the ibis, but that's just me. I'm a negative space junkie. I think it's a great shot, Judith. I think you've got a great capture there. Denise Savage. This is kind of fun, isn't it? I know how she feels. I felt like that all day, pushing a boulder up a hill. You wanted to go for a more silhouette-y approach. And funny enough, I'm just thinking, yes, I think that would have helped. I'm not sure that the power wires help. I see where you're going. You've got these lines. I think it's the power wires on the left which are a little bit confusing. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Maybe if you could have got lower so that her feet are more against the horizon and had it more silhouette-y, but I think the pylon and the power wires may have just sort of taken over a little bit too much. Great shot, Linda O'Neill. Great shot. I think it is a very creative take on the theme, on our move theme, because we know what's going on. You've frozen the movement. You haven't blurred any movement here. It doesn't matter. You didn't need to. I think it's a really great take on our theme. What more can I say? It's nice, soft, sort of light. It's well executed. You've obviously thought very hard about what you were going to do. I think it is it's an accomplished and good fun shot. How could it be improved? I want to give you a little bit of constructive if I can. I'm just taking maybe off to the second, I don't know what you call it, this knuckle here. I don't know what you call that knuckle, whether that's the second knuckle or nearly the last knuckle, I don't know. Maybe just take the fifth knuckle off. That would be an easy way to say it, wouldn't it? The other thing is the nose. It is a fine nose. It's just the angle at which we're kind of looking at it. It's a little bit dominant and taking my eye away from what the picture is about. I'm just wondering if it was possible to get in just that bit closer with the hand and the mouth and just lose a bit of the nose. Angle of the head might have helped because we've got a lot of nose hair going on there. Poor gentleman. But it's such a great shot, and I'm being hard on you because it's such a great shot, because you put a load of work into that and you came up with a great idea. Love the way you got the little dandelions as me and my bruv call them, just floating away into the distance. Mr. Stevenson. George, you are always good fun. There is no doubting that. We know you're a good photographer because you produce all sorts of things. What I love is that you're also completely happy to just throw a bunch of stuff in there and go, hey. Nice to see you, George. Done in camera. So I'm guessing you've moved. Hang on a minute. Are you wearing a different coloured shirt in the second one? You always throw something in from the side, don't you? I haven't studied these. I chose some. I went through and I chose the ones I am going to put into my little winners category at the end. But I really went next. Ooh, next. Ooh, and the oohs went in, and then I had to take a couple out, which was always painful. But I think it's great fun, George. It's a happy shot. And now you've confused me because it looks like you are wearing a yellow jumper in the one behind. And it was all done in camera. You're a little bit of a demon there, aren't you, George? If you're here, you're going to have to tell us what you did. Multiple exposure, is that doable? I think we've got a bit of a flash going on in the front picture. Interesting. Sashin, moving cargo under COVID restrictions. I read that. And I think the reason I read it, Sashin, is because I'm thinking, am I missing something? I get where you're going, and you've kind of connected move, aircraft, but I'd say it's a little bit of a loose link, and it's not the most creative link. It's kind of obvious. It's like, okay, yeah, aeroplanes move, and they're moving stuff. I like the light on the front of the airplane. I think that's good fun. But yeah, I'm not sure how well this sort of fits in with the brief, really. Now, Beverly Devine, you're all just doing pan blurs because you know I'm not very good at them, aren't you? Great. Girl on a bicycle. She's moving. These are not easy shots to get right. I'm going to go and get some lessons off my chum Gareth Harford, the MotoGP photographer who couldn't join us the other week, because that's all he does. He pan blurs stuff. Oh boy, he does some creative stuff, just as you are here. I like it. It's pan blur, it works. And when you get it right, it really works. Beverly, my creative criticism for you, my feedback would be, you've just missed the moment. It's never easy, this, is it? Because the one that's sharp is often the one that's just missed the moment. We kind of either need her absolutely side on or possibly just before she becomes side on. The moment is usually just before you get to 90 degrees. It's in this little arc sort of here, from sort of here to there. That's kind of where the action needs to happen, because once it goes here, we've kind of missed it. It's like we're going, oh, no, come back. But very well done. You did a better pan blur than I probably would have done. Gary Cleesby. You've been thinking hard, haven't you? Interesting, Gary, how, okay, so we've got another chess game going on here, but again, you're looking at it from a slightly unusual angle. You're being even more unusual because you've got a little LED light or something going on in the palm of the hand, which I think is intriguing. It's interesting. Very interesting image. You've got blue and red lighting going on. You've been playing around with this pretty hard. Not tonight, sire, I have a headache. They say that to me all the time, Gary. Um, did one with brighter exposure, but thought this one darker. Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that the dark, moody thing kind of works for this. It's an interesting image, Gary. And I get your connotation with move. We're playing chess. Paul Lynn. Wow. You've caught a perfect moment here. You know, that is an absolutely perfect moment. And I like the light on your horse. It's showing up all those muscles and ripples. It is a well captured moment of a beautiful horse. You've got some great colours going on here. Forgive me, but to me it looks like it's had a filter put on it or something. And I don't think it's doing it any favours, because it is such a perfect moment to capture the hooves exactly like that, all four off the ground. The jockey, the positioning, the light. It just looks to me like it's had stuff done to it, and to me it spoils it, which is a shame, because I get your movement thing going on here. Crystal Bartholomew, what a great piece of movement that is. What fun. That is such good fun, busting out his moves on the trampoline. I'd imagine you had a lot of fun shooting that too. Look at Crystal's light. It's coming towards the camera. I know I talk about this a lot, but it is one of the keys. It's one of those things. Look at the light. It's coming towards the camera. It is wrapping around this child's body. Look at the rim light on the fingers of his hands. Yeah, that little bright key line going on around the hands. That's because the light's coming towards the camera. Backlight just works. You've caught a great moment here, Crystal. I think you're dodging and burning of the sky may be a little bit heavy-handed, because we've got these halos going on and stuff like that. I think maybe a slightly more gentle approach could have helped. I don't think it would have hurt to let the sky be a bit brighter and possibly a little less contrasty, but hey, it's your picture, and as I'm always saying, let what's inside come out. If this is you, that's your style, go for it. I'm only saying what I do because, let's face it, all we can do ourselves is talk about what we do with our style. What fun. Lovely capture, lovely picture. Great one, Crystal. Anne Ashburn. Hello, Anne. We did a one-to-one day, didn't we? That's a lovely picture, Anne. I get it. Yeah, he's just learning to move, or she's just learning to move. I'm missing the parent gene. I'm never very good at determining he's and she's in little people. It's a moving picture. It's a parent picture, and I sort of see it in that context. I think you could have done with a little bit more exposure. And the worried look on Mum's face. I know we're not seeing her eyes. It's just kind of like this worried look. But I get it. First steps. We're on the move. Stephen Robinson, not Robinson. Apologies. Great fun. Pouring stuff all over the place and freezing movement and getting that coffee swirling around. I think it's really interesting. I'm guessing you must have used a flash or something, a strobe, to capture those droplets as you have. Again, the light is coming through the droplets a bit. Maybe you didn't. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But great colours, great moment. Just imagine how many times Stephen did this to make it work, people. Just imagine how many times he did it. Great colours, great stuff. Cornell. A train on the move. We're going somewhere. Boom. I like the lines. You've got all these different lines, and one of those lines is moving. We've got the line of lampposts. We've got the lines on the ground. We've got the line of the fences either side, and everything is going off into the distance. And you've got the train moving through it all. I think, yeah, it's a great shot. What can I say? Technically, it's really great. If it was possible to shoot this at twilight instead of full black sky, so the sky was deep blue, I think it would have worked better. I'm not sure about whatever that is in the foreground, that square. I'm not sure it's helping. It's technically a great shot. Not questioning that. That's kind of good fun, isn't it? That's because I'm a big kid. Okay, so you're spinning the wheels on your radio control car and getting the grip flying in the air. Yeah, stuff's moving around. I think it's kind of fun. You need a little bit more exposure, I think, and I think a more creative angle on the shot. Get down low, get a crazy angle, something you've never seen a radio-controlled car from. Maybe see if you could... I mean, there's a little bit of movement blur in the offside front wheel, or near side front wheel, depending on which country you live, of course, and which side of the road you happen to drive on. We, of course, in England, drive on the proper side of the road. Now, there's a little bit of movement in that front wheel on the left-hand side of the vehicle, and I think if you could have probably got an all-wheel spin going on, that probably would have helped quite a lot. What's all this? Finger up from the bottom, Clive. I've missed something because I'm looking at this. I must move on because we've got a lot of pictures to do, and I have to get out of here on time, or else it causes problems with our staff. Dan Murray, kingfisher in flight, River Stour. I get it. It's a beautiful picture of a kingfisher. It is very, very grainy. I'm guessing you've had to crop in a long, long, long way. But you've captured the movement really nicely. There's just a little flutter of movement blur on the wingtips, which I really like. And I like the catch light in the eye and the fact that the head and body are nice and still and sharp. It's a beautiful picture. It's a well captured picture. Diane Harper, you're playing around with some movement here. That looks like Muddyford Quay to me, where I run my beginners workshops. It is, isn't it, Diane? You can tell me now. So, okay, so we've got somebody moving in the foreground. I get it. I think if you could have given that a bit more exposure, it might have helped, and maybe a bit more room, so that we've got a bit more space going on around him or her with their coloured bag. I like the coloured bag. I think that's a great idea, Diane. Maybe a little bit of a shift. Diane, is this someone you know, or is it one of those moments that you just caught, seeing as you're here? I'm just intrigued. Because it has been quite busy down at Muniford. I did a one-on-one day with a lovely guy called Chris last week. Really good day. I'm going off on a tangent for a minute while I wait and see what Diane says. Really great day. If you're here, Chris, thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a privilege and a pleasure to meet you. One of the things I just want to talk about for a minute is about having the confidence to get stuck in and do challenges, to take shots like this. Strangers, says Diane. Awesome. Oh, it's a small girl at the front. I thought it was a role of something. But it takes confidence, you know. It takes confidence to enter challenges, because you think, well, what if I get it wrong? Well, you can't get it wrong. There is no wrong. What if mine's not as good as someone else's? It doesn't matter. It's about confidence. And the only reason I'm just thinking of Chris, if you hear Chris, I'd say pleasure. Chris is really quite an accomplished photographer. He had great compositional skills. Sure, there's a few things missing. There's a few things missing for all of us. I can't do pan blurs, can I? But the thing is, it's like what Chris actually told me he got out of the day was more confidence. It's just knowing he's going in the right direction. And then you can follow that direction moving forwards. And that's what these challenges are about. And getting a bit of confidence just to try things, just to have a go at something, just to try something new, just to photograph a stranger shaking their baby sister around next to the sea. This is where we were with Chris. By the way, if anyone's interested, I think we've still got one of this year's one-on-one training days with me personally left. The others were all booked, but I do think we still have one left. If anybody wants to spend a day with me like Chris did, I'd love to meet you for real and go and do it. There's such great fun. There's such great days, and I promise you it will be of great value. Diane, thank you for telling me how you did it. Thank you for having the courage to go and shoot this. I get it. It's a difficult thing to master, isn't it? Ideally, round to the side a bit more. These sorts of grab shots often work best if you can think, right now, people are walking along here, and then position yourself in such a place that the shot will work, and then you wait for someone to come into it. And I know that's not always doable, but if you can, that's when they start to work best. Monica Browne, I really like this. It's a different take on it. And I find it moving too. What is the sadness in this woman? Are we projecting our feelings onto her? But she does look so sad, and the moment I saw it, I couldn't help but feel moved by it. And I thought it was a very interesting and brave shot, selling her wares at a bus depot. Life doesn't sound like that's being too kind for her. But I think it's a really well done picture, Monica. I think it is moving. Glyn, yes, the fingertips are cut off. And I think it's cut a little close to the top of the head too. It'd be great if there was a bit more space. But it fulfills the moving wonderfully well. I think it's a bit too colourful. I think it would help if it was a bit less colourful. But the emotion and the power in that picture, I think, is great. Sean, what fun! The Tour de Newcastle. Oh, it's a Sony camera app. This is two chaps I stopped and asked if they'd mind if they'd turn round and ride towards me again, staying on my left. That's quite good fun, isn't it? But again, good on you. So you had some confidence. You just said, hey guys, would you mind? And you found a way to make something happen. You caught some movement. I think it's good fun. And I love the way that, yeah, you get all these gadgets and things on a phone. Go and play with them. Go and play with them. Find ways to use them. Nice one, Sean. Dan Drummond. Cars, hops, drive-in, fast food. You get it all. Hang on, I tried to read it too quickly. Cars, car, hops, drive-in, fast food all get you moving. Right, got it. Dan, I think it's a little bit of a loose connection here. I like the happy hour in the foreground, and I like the movement in the car. I mean, if you're doing, as a technical exercise here, you've caught a nice little bit of movement. I wonder if there could have been a slightly better moment. But yeah. Tim, this is just fun. This is the photographer's frustration, isn't it? This is the photographer's frustration. You just got everything lined up and focused and ready, and you're just about, and the bloody thing moves. It made me laugh like a dragon. But that said, you have totally fulfilled the brief of move. Something has moved. And all photographers feel this. Something has moved out of your shot. It's the move part. Technically, okay. Little bit overexposed. Would have been better if it was just a little touch darker. But I still think it's good fun. And thank you for sharing it. Bravo. It's interesting. I like the backlight. I'm not quite getting the move. Now, is this one of those things where you felt moved and inspired because this guy was playing the pipes and there's something you're experiencing from that experience? The music, the pipes, I don't know, something about this guy that you found moving. Unfortunately, it isn't translating through as a picture. It's not quite... It's not kind of hitting an emotional note, and we're not sort of doing a technical note here either. But good on you for thinking about it, and I just have to ask that question. Was it moving for you, a moving moment, but somehow that emotion, it hasn't come through in the picture? Evelyn, I think this is good fun. I do think this is good fun. We're going to move. Everyone thought that the pandemic would bring house prices down in the UK. It sent them through the roof. Everyone's got sitting at home. They haven't been spending any money, and now they've got loads of it to spend on new houses, and they're all making those moves into the country, my country. But I think it's a great interpretation, Evelyn. And I also think it's an intriguing, quite good fun moment. Yes, I know. Not everyone is a fan of street type photography. But I love the guy on the left with the mask under his chin and a fag in his hand looking at the house prices, and the other guy on the right, It's just good fun. And it's a great interpretation. I think it's a really good fun. And it's a different interpretation. It's a creative way of thinking about it. Andre, I love this picture. How many times do I say backlight? People often. Look at the shadow. It's coming towards the camera. Okay, not directly towards the camera, but it's this side of the subject, not the other side. The light is behind the girl. The shadow is coming across the road. And it's a great diagonal, sort of a line leading to her. I love the composition. I really, really like the way you've been brave enough to do what they all say you must never do. No, they need to look into the picture. No, it makes it a lot more edgy. I got a feeling of she's moving, it feels fast, it feels quick. She's off, she's getting home, she's walking, she's getting her exercise. She's doing it. Great sky, great clouds. Slightly longer lens, shallow depth of field. The light coming from just behind her works. Look how there's that rim light highlighting her arm. You see that little white line down the front of her right arm? That's because the light's coming from behind. Otherwise, that arm would probably be lost. If the light was coming from in front, it would still work, but I don't think it would be as powerful. We don't need to see the whole arm to know that there's an arm there. Look at the light on the thigh of her right leg, and well, all the way down her right leg. That little white key line is just going around both legs. It's around most of her, and she really stands out. I think it's a great shot. I like it a lot. Eastern smile. This is kind of fun. This really is kind of fun. I really kind of find this intriguing. It's the movement and the symmetry. I'm guessing what you've got here is a reflection of something. Now, I don't know if that's a reflection of these birds on water, whether it's a reflection you've created in post-production, but the simplicity of the pinky. My monitor needs calibrating again because I'm looking at this monitor and it's pink, and I'm looking at that monitor and it's kind of yellow. What colour are you seeing, people? What colour are your monitors? I'm just intrigued. Please, what colour is the background of this? On my monitor over there it is yellow, and on this monitor it's pink. They both need recalibrating. Pink, yellow, 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 yellowish, beige. Okay, we've got lots of pinks and yellows. We've got a warm grey. This is interesting, isn't it? You see, this just goes to show how... Good one, Crystal. Yellow, you've just calibrated. Yeah, and I think that laptop is the one that's more likely to be accurate. Off-white. This is when monitor calibration is quite important, because if I was to say, oh, unfortunately, this picture is really pink. It's not. It's my monitor, because that one is yellow. Anyway, back to your picture, Eastern. I think it's a really great picture. It's just silhouettes, single colour and reflection. And we do get that feeling of movement. It's like swooping. I have a recurring dream I've had since a child, that I'm in a hurry to go somewhere and I just think, why am I running? Why don't I just fly? And it's great. I don't really fly, but I sort of do that. And in this dream, just sort of leap forward and stick my arms out and I sort of swoop, you know, like a paper airplane when you throw it down towards the carpet and it goes woof like that. It's that sort of a thing. And I go about, I don't know, 20, 30 yards like that, and then up on my feet and then run and then do it again. It's really quick and it's great fun. And this photo reminds me of it. You didn't need to know that, but I told you. Lovely shot, Eastern. Joss Spections. PLD move. It is attention grabbing, Crystal. And I guess what we're going for here is yeah, okay, I get it. You're rubbing, there's the movement of the hands, the rubbing the eyes. There's a kind of an emotional context here with someone who's feeling moved or emotional or tired. I'm not quite sure. It's a good, fun picture, Jos. I like the light coming on one side. I think it would work more. I don't know. I think we need more space. I think it's just a little too tight. It feels like everything's happening down at the bottom of the picture to me, and it's a bit underlit. Somehow we need a little bit more light under the hood, I think. Difficult thing to do and still capture that motion. Sarah Moore. This is a great bit of hot goose action. It really is. Look at those droplets flying in the air. Yeah, you've frozen some serious movement here. That's a really great shot. Absolutely pin sharp. It's loads of fun. I love the movement. There's still little bits of movement in some of those droplets. It's a great shot. What more can I say? You have frozen some nice movement and I must move on. Donald Daly. I like this. Let's get that mouse off there so it doesn't... I keep forgetting you're looking at this for real. I love it. There's something about this I really, really love. These mayflies. Having been caught in mayfly storms in Africa, where it's just like tornadoes of these little black flies. They may not be mayflies, tornadoes of little black flies. It's like, yeah, it's just full of them. It's like a cloud and they swirl in the wind and like a little dust devil. And I really got that sensation. I think this is a really interesting image because the whole thing is moving. It's like when you get, I think it's called is it a murmuration of larks or a susurration? It's a narration of some sort. I think it's like that when you get all these birds moving and whoa. And I get that feeling from this. It's a nice shot, Donald, and I like your different way of thinking about move. Paul, this is a great shot. We got lots of light, we got lots of fun, but it's the light that makes this work. That shaft of light coming in, sort of, and just lighting up the dogs. Yeah, okay, they're moving and they're running, and I get it, and it's technically absolutely great. And I know it's a story for you. I saw the word come up, and so something obviously happened. I'm not going to stop and read it. It'll take me too long. But it's a great moment captured. Patsy Fairclough. Yeah, I kind of, it's a nice picture of a gull, and I see there's a little bit of movement in the waves, and it's a shame we haven't got more of that reflection. I think that would have been really cool. I don't know if you kind of cropped it in like that, or whether it would have been, whether you took it wider or shot it like that. I'm not quite getting that move connotation, but look at our gull. It's backlit. See that light coming around the gull. Learn to look at light, people. Anyone who's struggling with light, who's thinking, why can't I make my pictures pop? Light is the key. You can have a not so well composed picture of a slightly boring subject or everyday. Let's not say boring, that's a bad word. An everyday subject. And if the light is interesting, then it makes the picture engaging. But you can have the most incredible location, the most beautiful composition, the most beautiful people in your picture, the most amazing Bentley blower, British racing green, you know, all that sort of stuff. If the light isn't working for it, if the light's not appropriate for the shot, it won't work. The light on this gull is just right. But I'm sorry, Patsy, I'm not quite getting the move connection. Lorraine, I'm getting a move connection here. I really do get the connection between these two. I also like the way you've been brave enough to just blow that background away and go high key with it. I think it's just really, really cool. I like the light pastel colours. The light is coming from behind you, exposed for the shadows, and just said, to hell with that bright background. I mean, you obviously had a bright background, but you made no attempt to rescue it, and it works. It works. The lightness, the pastel colours work with the lightness of the emotion that is happening between these two. It is, you've captured move in a really great way. You've captured move in a really great way. Just seen a B Porter, you just saw some pictures and thought of a shot you should have entered. Well, the whole point of the challenge is to shoot a picture for the challenge. Don't you go into your archive now. If I catch people in their archives, there'll be trouble. But you did what you did. Never have a regret. Jan Roberts. Okay, I get it. Yeah, the American flag, honouring veterans, and it's moving. Yeah, the tree is kind of annoying. They could have just moved it for you so you could take the picture, really, couldn't they? I see where you're coming from, totally, and the tree is a pain. Would it be possible to shoot from the other direction? so that, I know you may have had a tree, or to get a different angle so you could avoid the tree, you know, get down low and look up. Just have 3 flags instead of trying to get the whole row, possibly. I get it. The row and the fluttering in the wind is really, really great. The only other thing I'd say, Jan, is a little bit too much on the top. I'm not sure we need it. Could we take it through like that? Just taking off the top, I think. But just tilt that camera down a bit. Maybe see if you could find somewhere else to stand. I don't know if it was entirely possible for you, but Mary Sue Voth. I'm not getting the move. I'm having to read the comment. I'm sorry, Mary. This is, again, I think, one of those things where you experienced movement, but it hasn't come out in the picture. I'm being ruthless here. What we've got is a horse looking kind of alert and interested in something, and the gentleman on the horse sort of just looking, I don't know, he just looks like a bit like, I want to go home. So forgive me, Mary. I know this is something which probably worked for you, but I'm not quite getting the move connotation here. Now, there was a tussle with the man who was to ride with him, scrambled back out the way, missed an exciting, scary action shot. Here all is docile as the trail ride begins. You said it yourself in your comment. Ken Harmon. Okay, bit of zoom blur going on here. Bit of zoom blur onto the flag. So we've got a similar thing going on to Jan here. With the zoom blur, you've got to be really, really careful to try and get the thing you want to stay sharp absolutely smack in the middle of the frame, because then it will be sharp. I like your idea, and I like the sort of sunset colours coming through, but I think they're fighting with the flag. I think you'd have been better to have a simpler shot and then use that little bit of zoom blur, that movement blur, to sort of make the flag stand out, and then you wouldn't just have movement, you'd also have movement in the emotional context as well, in the honouring. Tracy Keeney. Yep, it's nice. I like the mist. I like the light coming over the waterfall and the mistiness. Zemslaw, is it too late to submit a photo? Yes, it is, I'm afraid, my friend, but the next challenge is going out right after this live broadcast. So if you go into our group, there is a link in the description area below, Photography Lockdown Group. If you go to, well, actually it goes to my website, there you will find out what the next challenge is. You'll find out in a little while, but if you go there now, just pop your email address in there, it will be sent to you very, very shortly. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. I just saw someone asking, and I just want to welcome as many people into this challenge group as possible. Tracy, yes, I love the mistiness. I like the light coming through the mist. You're a little bit overexposed. Very difficult thing to do, because if you've got quite a bright day, trying to get a slow enough shutter speed without overexposing the picture is a tricky thing to do. It's not easy. Filters are often needed. Here's a little top tip for you. If you are trying to do something like this, and if you found a way to get your camera nice and still and you can't get your shutter speed slow enough, if you've got a nice big dark pair of sunglasses, stick them over the lens. acts like a neutral density filter. You can sometimes lose a couple of stops of light just through a pair of sunglasses if you don't have an ND with you. David. Tadpoles enjoying the afternoon sun. They are the opposite of still. That's true enough. That's true enough. I'm not getting the feel of movement from them. Maybe an abstract where they were buzzing around at a slightly slower shutter speed might have worked. Though I do get a sense of movement from the light. You see where the tails, and it's like there's little streaks of light, there's little shadows almost running through that slightly cloudy water coming from the tadpoles themselves. So I'm getting a sense of movement, but I don't know. And also I'm not sure the dark bit in the top left corner is doing you any favours, unless you could have another one in the bottom right corner. So you'd have this sort of, you'd be, what am I trying to say? Magnifying that diagonal. You've already got this diagonal line going on there. It's beautiful light. But I think, could you have created a shadow on the right? You know, as you shot it, could you, I don't know, maybe put your hand out there somehow, made another little shadow on the right, something like that. And let's move on. Olivia Stevens, I'm not sure how far we got to go, and I know that, oh boy, I've got to move. Forgive me, folks, if you haven't had a shout out yet, you'll get one, but we've got to go fast. Olivia, great movement, lovely colours. Yeah, if you know, and if you set yourself a challenge to get a little bit of movement into a shot, and you have succeeded. Tree panning, Nancy. This can work so well, and I think you've done a great job of it. It's such an arty thing. Trees, slow shutter speed, and it's like, I'm guessing this was a down pan, I'm not sure. Open the shutter, down with the camera, hold it still for a moment, and then close the shutter. It's an intriguing technique. I like the way you've caught the movement there. David, I like your surfer, and yes, there's some movement. I get it, you've frozen some movement, but forgive me, it hasn't gone much further. Now, if that's your goal, was to say, right, that is challenging for me, I need to try and figure out how to freeze some movement, good on you, my friend, because you know you've done it, and this is what it's all about. We have all been in this place at some point. Jane Barnes, thank you so much. For you, Jane, has just supported us with $5. So, you know, that goes straight into the PLD Fighting Fund, the kitty, to try and keep us all afloat. Thank you, Jane. Round of applause from everyone. Send Jane some love. Yeah, if your challenge is to capture some movement and freeze it, you've done it. And we have all been in this place where we've tried to figure these things out, myself included. So good on you, David. Stella, move or else. I get it. It's kind of fun, isn't it? It's kind of fun. It's a beautiful photograph. I'm intrigued. Shift in the mist. I'm not sure how it fits to the move. I get it. It's a glowery sort of a moment. But beautiful shot, Stella. Forgive me, I've got to move on. Irene, this is kind of lovely. And I like the quizzical look on the parrot's face. I'm just looking at my two screens. It's pure grey, black and white on that one. This one is definitely pink. I must sort it out. Although I don't use this laptop usually is plugged into a thing with hard drives on it and another thing that makes monitors work and connects other hard drives to it. So it's very rare this gets used as a laptop. I really like it. A pink parakeet. I think it's kind of good fun. I really do. It's beautifully captured. And yes, you've frozen some movement. Neil, I get it. I get it. Your dog's kind of running towards you, but you've got a lot of light going on in the background, which against a dark dog, there's a lot of confusing things. And I'm not quite getting that sense of move come out of the picture. Getting it from here, RTR. Snakes and ladders and throwing the dice. Life's a game of snakes and ladders. I like the movement of the dice, and I like the fact you have given it a go. Twig the Shadow, thank you so much. I'm going to get all emotional in a minute because we've never done this before. And just seeing you guys show some appreciation for what I'm trying to do and for what everyone else is doing, it's just really moving. Thank you. That's very, very kind. Right. I like the light on your snakes and ladders board. Life is a game of snakes and ladders. It is pretty cool. Ooh, back to my childhood. Back to my childhood. Okay, we've got a lot of movement going on here, and there is a lot of movement in a milking parlour. We had a couple of cows at home. We used to do them by hand. It's good fun. There is a load of movement in it. It's not quite, what do we say, arty kind of, abstract movement. I think could do with a little bit more. But it is, as Crystal just said, moveless. I do a good cow. Moveless. I don't believe I did that. Paul Martin. Okay, yeah, we've got a bit of movement. I like the little bird. I like your use of space. I like that a lot. I think it's a great use of space, and I love the little bird. It's not quite sharp. You've frozen some movement successfully. I think that's the best way I can put that one. Chris. Yeah, Chris, I get it. It's a nice picture. Quite like the light, but I'm not getting this move connotation from it. You've got a nice picture of a gorilla as it was moving, but the sense of movement isn't quite sort of coming through. Somebody buy me a cow sticker, please. There might be one in there. Sue Owen, this is fun. This is fun. Beautiful light. Capturing these little, is it water? I guess the droplets of water against something sparkly in the background and the pendant. There's a mystery in this, which I think is engaging. I think as a technical movement shot, I think it's really great because there's a little mystery to it. It's not just like something moving in a picture. It's intriguing. It's like, what is going on here? Oh man, thank you so much, The Wanderer. That's really kind of you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I see these things, they pop up on there because they're colours. Otherwise, when they're just comments, I don't. Let me get back into this or I shall be in trouble with Aunt Lucy. I think it's a really great shot, Sue. I think it's creative. I think it's engaging. I have to move into the next one. Bob, you are having fun with this, my man. Moving it. I like it. I just think that's good fun. I think it's good fun. Thank you for joining in. I think it's cool. Steve Swain. Yeah, again, it's like, I like the backlight. I think you could have let the shadows be a bit darker. I don't think it would have hurt. I love the way you caught the girl running. Possibly a little bit colour. Maybe give her a bit more space. Carol Leather, thank you. You are a star. You are very much appreciated. Rob Cook. I like this, like the water. Yeah, it's a very classical thing, isn't it? You know, the movement in the water. But I like the way you framed it. You put a lot of work into that, Rob. It's a very classical sort of a landscape. Look at the lovely light coming in under the bridge. There's really only a couple of colours here, isn't there? There's the sort of the reddy rock. Well, it's red on this blasted monitor. What colour is it on this one? It's a bit more neutral on that one. And those huge gunnery leaves, it's holding it all together. But you got down into a pretty uncomfortable position to get that shot. Well done. Kevin Coffey. A bit of hot bus action going on here. The school bus breaking the speed limit. Oh, we used to bribe our driver with cigarettes to go more slowly. That's what I was like at school anyway. Yeah, I get it. You have successfully captured some movement, and if that was your intention, good on you. The next step would be to sort of take it to the next level and see if you can find a way to add a bit more of a, I don't know, an intriguing different angle to it, because we all need to start somewhere. And then we can start to bring a new kind of an angle to it. Mike, I love your composition here. I really do. I think it's great. We don't need to see the whole runner. The fact you cut him off at the butt, I think, works. You've got just the right position of the legs and the feet, and it just hangs together beautifully well. Possibly a little bit more exposure could help. That certainly would be useful. Sorry, I was looking at something over there. It was distracting me. I've got a little message thing popping up. It keeps getting notification. I've just turned it off. A little bit more exposure would have really, really helped. And it looks like this is an evening shot or a dull day shot, but I really, really like the way you have put that together. It's a very brave thing to do, but it totally gives us the feeling of on the move. Cheyenne. Okay, I get it. I had to think a bit because the pigeon is a little bit in the shade, shall we say. I couldn't quite figure out what this was about. So I think what we're seeing is the shadow of another one that's just taken flight and moved on. I like your thinking. The light is very, very spiky, isn't it? A very difficult thing to be able to get right. But good on you for giving it a go. What do we got? Phil Saunders Hall. Thank you, Phil. You didn't even enter, but you wanted to give us a shout out and put £5 into the pot. That's very kind of you. Thank you, sir. Paul Tyzak, love a sheep too. Not a sparkling image this time around, but the sheep caught my eye. They were certainly on the move, yes. And I love the way you caught that one sheep just kicking his heels and leaping through the air. That is kind of fun, isn't it? But you said it yourself, it's not your most sparkly one, but it's something that made you happy, and that is the key, isn't it? Steve's Outdoors, a little bit of street movement going on here. Right out of your comfort zone, getting this shot. You have my respect, totally, because all the best stuff starts outside of our comfort zones. Nothing ever happened just being comfy. So good for you. Good for you for going out there and trying something you didn't want to do. And you have successfully caught a little bit of a feeling of the street going on. Now, my coaching for you would be, take it another step further. You were really outside your comfort zone doing this, but you did it. You survived. You've got your picture here. You successfully caught the feeling of people walking around on a busy street. Step one, brilliant. And you're still here. You're still alive. So next time, give it another go and just wait until you get some coming towards you. Do them face on, because it'll be a lot stronger. This is how we build our confidence, and it's one step at a time. We sort of start off doing something, going, oh, I really don't want to do this. And then you do it and realise you survived. And then you go, oh, okay, well, let's go one little step further beyond the line of being comfy. And then you realise you can do that. And before you know it, you're ramming cameras anywhere you feel. And I don't mean disrespectfully, I'm sure you all know that. Good on you, Steve. Philip Gray, this is good fun. I really like that. What's the word? Shadow. Sorry, my brain's not working. I think it's good fun. You have definitely caught some cool movement here. I've really got to move on. Clive Barton, I really love this. I really love this. That is such a great shot of a bee amongst many. And that's what's really cool. Yeah, bees are always moving. They just don't stop, do they? You never see a bee kicking back on the sofa in its comfort zone. Bees just get on with it. But what I love about this, Clive, is you have caught one bee amongst many, and we know they're all moving. But it's a great shot because we know which bee to look at, and that is not an easy thing to do. Stephen West, a little bit of pan blur going on here with a sporty car. Yep, I think we needed a bit more movement, probably the car a little bit nearer for it to really work. Thomas Flicht. I like your choice of shutter speed. You chose exactly the right shutter speed for this river, because you never know what the shutter speed is. But it's not too slow. If it was any slower, it would kind of go very, very, very blurry. But you've got just the right speed to sort of give that feeling of vibrancy, of this is a busy river. It's not a flowy, cotton woolly river. It's a busy river. I think that's a well captured piece of movement. Rafael, this is a good idea. It really is. I think it's good fun. I have to go quicker, and that's why I'm doing this. I apologise. I don't know how many more I've got to go. Annette Vorm, that was a beautiful picture of some goosey action. You said it yourself, it's just some geese in the park. But it's a nice shot. Linda, I like your thought of doing a zoom blur. I think you could have benefited from a little bit more exposure. Watch out for the white bit in the top right corner. Kirsten, lovely shot of these birds. Not sure what they are, but I like the way you've got that light capturing the fact they're facing opposite directions. And the way you've taken the care to shoot through the trees like that, I think it's really nicely done. Do love a chook. Dawn McLean, I love a chook. Chooks are funny and they're fun, and I do a great hen impression. I'll do it another time. I'm not quite getting the move feel. Okay, I get it. You're saying get a move on, girls. Rocky the Cockerel telling them what to do. Congratulations on getting down on the floor to hen's eye view. That always helps. Arundira Law. Good fun. Good fun. It's never an easy thing to do, but I like the way you've allowed the scooter to move. I think we could have taken that exposure down a bit and possibly lost the back of the white car. Phil Thompson, you're just playing in your shed, aren't you? You just thought, I'm going to play with my whole car. Anyway, forgive me for being quick. Karen Toy Downs, is she going to land on Park Place or the next one? Oh, guys, look at you. You just rock. Thank you very, very much. Who said that? Kevin, Michael Mulker. That is very kind of you. You are making a difference. You are making a difference. I'm getting goosebumpy. Is she going to land on Park Place? Sorry, I've gone off onto a tangent, haven't I? Let's try and keep it together. Let's keep this shit together. Great movement in the hands. I like the light on your Monopoly board. How could we make it stronger? I think there's a little bit too much movement in the hands. This I really like, David. It's just kind of like super simple. I just think it's great. With that little splash of satellite. I really do think it is fun. I really do. And it's just the fact that it's pointing to the North Star in all that incredible vastness. And I do get the feeling of move from it. Not just from the satellite, but I don't know, that little slash of movement just makes it. Emeralds. I think that's kind of good fun. The way you got some moving, the three movements. Have you done my Ultimate Beginner's course? Because there's a windmill thing going on in there, isn't there? Yeah, it's cool. Emma Port. Hello, Mrs. Port. Again, I like it. You caught a bee. There's a bit of movement going on. I got to move on. Forgive me. Patrick, this is very arty. Photo in a moving car. I think I see where you're going, Patrick. You wanted to get some movement blur, I think, as the car was moving. Unfortunately, that slow shutter speed, that means that you get tons of light coming in and things get overcooked. I kind of like this as a look. It's really artistic and it's kind of fun. If, on the other hand, it was the movement you were after, two things. Try and do it somewhere where the road is enclosed. You need stuff to move around you. So you know those country lanes where the trees go right over the road. Places like that work well because also there's a bit less light. Hervé, on the move, walking the dog. Yes, I've just seen your word, on the move with no hesitation. She is. She's striding out very, very purposefully and giving it her best shot. Unfortunately, the dog looks kind of bored. She's like, come on, dog, get on with it. But great shot, nice light. Thank you so much, Moose. I am working my butt off here because Lucy will kill me if I keep doing this after her email goes out. Thank you. Sandra Sim, this is a shot I love because look at the valley of the water with that little kiss of colour on that flower. This is a really creative way of doing movement. It's not just moving water. It is this whole, it's a different way of doing it. Yes, there's movement there, but the movement is playing second fiddle to that beautiful flower. I think it's beautifully done. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Annette. And I get this one too, Julia Kelly. We're on the move. We're moving those beach huts. We're moving out of here. Where are we going to put it? I like your idea. I do. Running around the fields as a kid. Yes, it's another great idea. I got to move on. Crystal Craig. This is great fun. I really like this. And I get you must have done that so many times. I think it's an awesome shot. And we've got movement here from Eric. Eric, this is another one. We've got that great emotional movement. We've got that context. So right. I love, again, the pastelness. I'm not sure you needed quite so much of the foggy edge, the pale vignette thing, because the light and the smile are sort of doing it all, and we didn't need to see the other girl's head either. You've done a great job with that. Nan Kelly, I really like this too, because it's just this lone man paddling, and it gives us that feeling of movement, even though it's still, and I think that's really quite an accomplished and clever thing to do. I like that shot, Nan. And okay, many times we say don't put the subject in the middle, but in this case I think it really works. I think in the middle down the bottom would work just as well. I like this shot, Nan, a lot. And I think you caught movement in a different way. Neil, I get it. Game of cricket, the ball's on the move. I think a different angle, maybe from really, really flat on the ground, looking up more. If you could, I don't know, it's not an easy shot to get. The light isn't doing you much favours. I think if you were the other side of the pitch, so the cricketer was a little more backlit and trying a slightly more unusual angle. Maybe if you could have shot through the wickets, if you could have got far enough away with that long lens and shot through the stumps, not the wickets. My brother will moan at me, he likes cricket. I don't understand it, much too complicated for me. Bit more goose action, I think it's a goose. It is a goose. I like your movement, Alan. I think, and I like the little ring of water. I think maybe a little closer, and the light isn't doing you any favours. A little bit brighter would have probably helped you. This is fun, Nick. This is fun. I can feel the flappy, fluttery things going on. I just think it is a good, fun shot. It's well executed. It's not an easy thing to get. Shame you weren't just a fraction to the left, so that we weren't losing the tail feather. I think shoot these things a bit wider, guys. I would always recommend shoot them a little bit looser, because you can always take a little bit off the top or the bottom like we do with our fingers. But it's always a good idea. Take a bit off either end. Sharon Grigg, again, I get where you're going, and I think you've done a pretty good job with this one of trying to capture, you know, how important the flag is to American citizens. And I get it. The light is helping, and I think it's quite lucky you got that little piece of blue going on in the background. Gemma Henry nearly missed the deadline. I am going to catch a beating off of Lucy if I don't get a move on. I think it's great fun. I get it, they're playing football, they're running around, they're moving, but I'm not really getting a sense of movement from it. I wish I had time to tell you more about how you may be able to achieve that. Jared, yep, I like your movement in the water. Your picture's just a little bit wonky. I feel your camera was leaning down a little bit one way. I could be wrong. It could be an optical illusion. These things happen. This is fun, isn't it? Moira, this is fun. Am I moved by it? I can't say I am particularly. It makes me smile. This, actually, I do find quite moving. Jane, I think this is a cracking picture. Technically, perfectly done. You know, you've been doing this a while. But I just really think it's a beautiful picture, and I totally get this mother love protection thing. I do find there is an emotional content here. It's, you know, I mean, I'm a rough, miserable, hard-nosed git, but even I go, oh, isn't that sweet? I think it's a really nice shot, really nicely done shot. Carl, this is fun. I get there. This is real manliness, isn't it? Man in the shed. Well applied to a windbreak stake. Okay, got it. I don't know. It looks a bit overly contrasty. It looks a little bit, I don't know if you did that on purpose to push that in there. I like the power in this image. Vim, always tricky, as we were saying. Light trails, they are so difficult to get, really, really powerful, but a good effort. This was a long exposure, I think, to capture these. Lindy, I love this. Backlight, it's like tipping the sand out your shoe. I get it. I just think it is good fun. You left your battery out of your camera and you took it on your phone. Yeah. Dean, very accomplished portrait. I like that we've got that bit of movement in the propeller. And it's just a nice portrait of the guy. I'm not quite getting a real sensation of move here. Christopher, I think a little bit less exposure. It's not quite sharp. I don't think this is a Facebook compression going on here. It's just not quite sharp. A little bit darker would help. And that bright area on the top left isn't doing you any favors. Kari, I like this shot. I like what you're playing with, but it hasn't quite come together. Maybe closer on the foot, I don't know. You're kicking the sand, but we've got an awful lot of space at the bottom of the shot, which we don't really need. and some of the action of the sand is missing. Peter, I've experienced this a time or two. Are we on Dartmoor? I ride across Dartmoor to my cousin's place, always dodging the sheeps. I like it, it's fun, I'm a motorcyclist, I kind of get it. I'm not really getting a strong sense of move from you though, my friend. Rupert, really love this. I like the geometry of it. I like the feeling of power and dynamism. It takes a little bit of doing to sort of get a shot like this right. I'm guessing, Rupert, you were waiting there for quite a long time until such time as the right person came through. So you found a composition, you found something that works, and then waited for something to happen. And as luck would have it, you've got this great sense of power and movement in your foreground character and a mystery with the other one. Is this person going to see that person? Who is the person at the other end? It would have worked either way, even if there was only one person. I think it's an awesome picture, Rupert. Bonnie, this is fun. I get it. There's splashing. There's movement. I am so sorry I can't say more. Jonathan, this is one that I really, really liked a huge amount. I love the colours, the softness. And there's something so symmetrical about the top of those stinging nettles and those little flappy, buzzy, flyy, flappy things. This is what I mean by if you get the light right, it doesn't matter what you photograph. These are the tops of some stinging nettles. This isn't, you know, the most beautiful plant in the world, but capturing those little flappy bugs and the light on the stinging nettles, it absolutely works. And I can feel that little army of insects coming over the top of them. Lisa, interesting. It is an interesting shot, but I'm not getting a huge sense of movement. I'm feeling wet. Mr. Port, I'm getting a sense of movement from you, and I do kind of like the shot, and I'm intrigued by how you did it. You rigged something on the front of your bike, I guess, to do this, to make this work. And at the risk of having a certain person in the group have a grump at me because apparently, poor man thinks motorcycles are boring. I think it's a great shot. It's not quite shot, and I know how good you are. And also, I think I saw you post another shot from this series, which I think was better. Great shout out though, Mel, because you know this takes a bit of doing to figure a way to mount your camera in such a way that you can capture a sense of movement. If you could have done it when it was a bit darker, maybe got a little bit of blur down either side of the road, I think that would have rocked it. Liliana, I like your idea, and I like the rings on your hand. You took this with a phone, didn't you? I can see that. I think you took it with a phone. But the light on your hand is great, and I get the feeling of movement really nicely. But the thing to me that I like are the rings on your hand. I don't know why. I just find it engaging. Carmen, again, I get it. There's things moving, but I'm not feeling that sense of movement. It's a little bit busy. There's a little bit too much going on. I don't know, is there a headland or somewhere you could get in position so they're coming towards you with a long lens? They're very, very hard shots to get right, these ones. They really are. When did they end? 3 days ago. When was 3 days ago? I'm just wondering, has anybody put extra pictures in here? Because there's some which I think I've already seen, because I've got to somehow move on. I don't know how to get my calendar. I don't know when it ended. How many days ago? Somebody please tell me, when did it end? Because I think I'm seeing some pictures I haven't seen before. I'm going to move on. Raju. I'm not getting the sense of movement. I get it. You've got some wheels, but I'm not getting that sense of movement. 4 days ago, so Sunday the 30th. This is 2 days ago. So this was entered after. Am I now looking at pictures that were entered after the deadline? I think I am. It just says 2 days ago. So it ended Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 days. Right. So in that case, we have come to the end. I am looking at pictures which were not actually part of the competition. Hayley, I know you entered too late because I saw this and thought you missed the deadline. Right, forgive me guys, counting is not my strong suit. Great set of entries. Now, what you want to know is who are my top 6? You can see what I look at on my screen now when I'm doing this. So let me come out of that shot and go back to that one. And then, because I don't want you to see what I have got hidden away at the bottom of my screen here, and then we're going to quickly go through my chosen images. You've seen them already. I just didn't tell you which ones they were. So let's just get rid of that. Put me down there out the way. So here we go. I really love this, Andre. As I said when we were doing the feedback, so I have chosen you. You stayed in my folder, you know, where I'm going, oh, I don't know which one, oh, I don't know, and then I kept coming back and thinning away. I just think it's a great shot. I've already said why. I think it's a great shot. Congratulations, Andre. My next in my runners-up folder, and I always agonize over these things, was Dina. You heard what I had to say about it earlier on when we were doing the feedback session. I think there is a very powerful feeling of movement here. There's something moving about this powerful man's arm, so gently drawing this little line in the water. I think it's a great shot. Crystal. I really love this shot because I can imagine how much work you had to put into doing it. And it's a great sense of movement. It's almost like a yoga pose of stillness whilst it's kind of like yogic flying, isn't it? I think it's a great shot. Now I happen to see that you posted another shot from this sequence in the group. And I have to say the other shot you posted in the group after you'd entered this was a much more powerful picture. It was really great. Monica. Yeah, I like this because it moved me emotionally. As I don't know who it was, I think it was Glenn, said, you are a bit tight on the fingers, you are a bit tight to the top of the head. It looks like the colours have been a bit overdone, maybe a bit overworked in post-production, but nonetheless, it is a very powerfully moving image, certainly for me. Not for everyone, I get it, not for everyone. Jamie Smith, what power you captured in this. You captured so much power and movement in this shot that you caught my eye right at the beginning. Yeah, you heard what I said about it earlier, guys. Skip back in the replay if you missed it. But you guys were my runners-up. You were the ones which I had to just keep in my folder. But the one which I continuously came back to was Rupert. I know we've seen some of you guys in this place often. Rupert, I think we've seen you in this place often. I just think it is a beautifully done image, and I can just imagine how much time was spent, you know, waiting in that place for the right person to come past. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was staged. Maybe Rupert went there with someone and told them how to move and where to move. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's a great idea, well executed. Do you remember we were looking at someone's picture earlier and I was saying how hard it is to capture both feet on the ground? Because when one foot's on the ground, it's frozen. Look at the front foot, it's frozen, it's solid. The back foot is moving just a little bit, but we've got both feet. A moment later, and that hind leg would have become a blur. This person would have had only one leg. Just something to watch, but it's the composition, how we're being curled around on this journey through this astonishing place. I've no idea where it is. Black and white works well, but there's real dynamism and power in that movement. So, congratulations, Rupert, and to everybody who has entered this challenge. It has always, of course, been a total privilege. The only reason I could even attempt to try and go through everyone's images is because we didn't have quite so many entries, and it was good fun. So don't go around putting people off just because you want more feedback. I must get out of here now and get the website page live with the next challenge. There is a link to the page below this in the description area, but you're going to need to give me at least 4 or 5 minutes to put that page live. So it has been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much to all of you who have donated a bit of money to support me and the PLD group. It is sorely needed and it is greatly appreciated. You have no idea what a difference you make. Thank you and be well, everybody. I'll see you next time.